I'm really happy to be here. It's been thrilling because I was going, I was not, I was going, I was not. So it's been, yeah, a bit of a roller coaster. We planned this trip for a long time, and now actually I'm here. And I can't tell you how happy I am to see real faces in real time, in real life. Because this Zoom thing is working, but this is different. This is totally the best. Anyway, I'm Onny, and I will start with pushing. No.
No, doesn't work.
The wrong way.
There you go.
Here we are. That's me. Blonder, younger. Anyway, I'm from business, and I've been working with trade and industry in private sector internationally and nationally for a long time. I graduated from business school, and but I've always been working with product development and marketing and focusing on consumers and product development. Eventually, I ended up with product development in a lighting company. I joined the board of Norwegian Design Council. And later, I was hired by the Norwegian Design Council to establish a government-funded program called Innovation for All. And I did this for nearly 14 years, and then I moved on and started my own practice. At the same time, I've been the president for an amazing international network called EIDD Design for All Europe, comprising of members, institutions, design, education, universities across Europe, but now also globally. You can have a look at our website, and it would be a great honor if you could consider also joining, because it's all about knowledge sharing. Well, today I'm going to talk about universal design, a little bit about the background. Some of you are very familiar with it, others may not be. And, but for me, what is close at my heart is how universal design is a strategy for innovation and also a strategy for business. At the center of this thinking is people, and also a tool that we call lead users. So I will go into that also more in detail, methods and tools, talk a lot about cases from around the world, and also some typical within technology and startups, and also a summary and some recommendations from me to you. So universal design, or design for all, or also inclusive design as it's called, for me it's the same thing. It's about a consideration of the diversity of people in a broad sense of the word. In Norway, we call it universal design. That's an official term, which I think is also the case here. Just a quick introduction to what we do in Norway. This has been on the political agenda since 2005. And the government are launching 5-year plans of how to achieve Norway universally designed by 2025, which they boldly stated in the second action plan. That might be a utopia, but it's setting a direction. And it's involving all sectors and all ministries, nearly all ministries, and focusing on areas such as public spaces, building, transport, and ICT, among other things. And legislation is the basics and the foundation for all. For us, it's a sustainable strategy. It's a strategy benefiting society, business, and citizens at the same time. So for me, it's a win-win-win strategy. And it's about designing for human diversity. We may be young, we get older, children, people with disabilities, cultural diversity, ethnic diversity, but the list goes on. And there are so many different ways of exclusion. And these are just some examples, and there are many ways of excluding. But it can be socially, culturally, economically, geographically, finance, gender, ability and age, but also education-wise. I mean, we have analog people and we have digital people, right? And it's also about competence. So it's about us, it's not about them. It's about how the environments and solutions actually disable us. So, but sometimes disability can be an ability, and we've many examples of that as well. And by the way, did you know that actually 70% of all disabilities are invisible? I have quite a few impairments, but could you tell? So it's about also that during our lifetime, we will all experience some sort of disability. And a speaker at a conference once said, we are actually only all tabs, which is we are only temporarily able-bodied. So imagine yourself in 50 years' time, 60 years' time. Well, we know babies now born will reach 100 years old or more, but maybe they will have some issues and discover some impairments during the lifetime. So we should consider and plan for that. So the demographic changes are here already, and some countries are more aging than others. We know that Japan is a super aging country, and we've been looking at how they solve it. But we know that we see that age is changing, the perspectives of age is changing. And here we see one of the forever young models on the catwalk, and it's become more and more the mainstream that you have a diversity of models of all kinds on the catwalk. So it's not only the young and the white and the skinny type anymore. So these people are not retiring. You can see that here we also recognize the forever vital Keith Richards in an ad for Louis Vuitton. So that's something is changing here. It's an important new trend that marketing is looking at, how affluent older people, senior people, people above 50 actually have a positive equity. Kids are growing up and they can afford and consume more. And marketing and business need to recognize this, which they have started to now. But be careful when you talk to senior customers and clients, don't stigmatize. Because as like this Fiat director once said, a young man will not buy an old man's car, and neither will an old man buy an old man's car. Do you have any idea the average age of the sports car buyer? Guess. It's 54. But if you look at the ads, it's not always the case. So now I'm going to move on how this can be a strategy for innovation, a strategy for business. Well, it's actually not only for business, it's also for public sector. We need to innovate both in private and public. So normally people say that, well, inclusive design, universal design, as we call it, is only about good intentions, about ideology, about human rights, equal accessibility, etc. And I say, no, that's not it. It's actually a huge business opportunity. And that's why I want to, what I have been dedicated a lot of my time to communicate. But also it's a holistic approach. You have to have all these thoughts at the same time. It's about people, it's about profit, it's about planet, and it's about where these intersect, where you can find the innovation potential. And it's also in line with the SDGs, you know, and a lot of these goals are actually directly related to social sustainability. Now I want to focus more on these two, where the commercial interests intersects with social interests. And this is where designers, architects, business people, and entrepreneurs should focus on. And they need to look at this area to reach more social and commercially viable solutions. You need to have both. So at the core of this approach is customers. And this is our message to business and people in technology. Do not just design for mainstream, because we are mostly outside. We are not able-bodied, most of us. The world actually is made of people on the outer edges of this visual graphics. And so don't design for this able-bodied, young, strong man in the middle, typically white, Caucasian. No, look at the edges and you will include him as well. This is another way of presenting it. If you design universally, you will include more people in your market segment, and you will reach new customer groups, and you will still reach your main average customer or your main market. So inclusive design, inclusive or universal design approaches can give you maybe more universally user relevant, user-friendly solutions, but it can also give you a competitive edge. So you will increase your market share. So it's a win-win-win situation to actually design universally. But it's not only about designing universally to reach more customers or to be inclusive of everyone. It's actually a driver for innovation in another sense of the word. It means that it can be a driver. It can help you to discover problems and issues to solve, new problems that even your client or user are unaware of. So it can identify barriers, issues, even dissatisfaction with existing solutions can be a driver for innovation. And the tools and methods in universal design can help you discover these. Now, we know that number-centered and statistics research are very important, and we need that. But that should be complemented with people-centered research, where you can get more inspiration, more insights. And it's about, you know, traditional market research is about numbers, statistical truth, and you have a wide number of people involved. But empathic, people-centered research, maybe you can have a handful and you get a lot of valuable information, but maybe not so much statistical truth, but so much insights that actually can fuel your creativity. So it's about big data versus deep data, and they should complement each other. Qualitative research, people-centered research can be a good start. And then you go on. This is what one of the OXO Goodrip designers said, Dan Formosa in Smart Design. He said, it's actually much more difficult to design a product that 6 real people love than one imaginary average person love. So personas and statistics is not always the way to go. So I will talk a little bit about the tool. I call it a tool, but it's people. And the tool is called lead users. Because people and human diversity is what we are talking about here. How they can be represented in your perspective, when you design, when you develop new solutions, and make sure that you consider people who are different than you and who you think might need your solution. So what we think is that, oh, I can't see here. This is, sometimes I have to stick to the script so I don't run off the track, because we have some limited time here. So if you look at this screen, you see that there's some examples of lead users. This is just a selection. Each project is different. But in your research, when you do people-centered research, you should be sure to discover visual, audio, tactile, cognition, and mobility issues. And some of these lead users can provide different but very useful insights to any design process. Like visually impaired people can say something about tactility. People using wheels can say something about accessibility. And it's not necessarily a wheelchair. It can be someone carrying a very heavy luggage, a trolley with children, etc. Children can say something about how intuitive a solution is, how much strength is needed, and also size. And the list goes on. And why involve lead users in a design process? Well, they challenge the performance of products differently and use solutions in extreme ways, different than you can imagine, and demand more of them. But also, more importantly, they indicate where the barriers is, where the problem issues are that you may not face. So and this is the innovation potential. They can indicate your innovation potential. So how do you involve people in the process? Well, I will go back. This is all based on the book that Line showed you, based on the experience of how to present universal design as a low threshold practice, how to get started, how to make this easy to understand and to make it attractive and appealing so everyone can get started right away. Here it is, and here are our contributors. Actually, this is the second edition because we started in 2010 with a book called Innovating with People, the Business of Inclusive Design. And then we expanded and we also included architecture. And I didn't write this myself. I had a bunch of very, very clever authors and contributors to help me. And even some are Danish, like Masashik from KIDK, and Rama Garavo from Royal College of Art, the Helen Hamlin Center for Design. So we wanted to make it simple. This is a very generic design process in 4 stages. There are many different versions, but what is more important, we wanted to present some activities and engagements with people throughout the process to make any design or solution more inclusive or universally designed. We will maybe talk a little bit more about this in the workshop. I hope you will join later. But they range from the early stages of understanding users, understanding the context, which is very important, how you conduct your design research, how you plan your design research, and how you then go on and discover needs along with your lead users. And then also very important, how you map your insights, how you interpret your insights, the new perspectives that you get, and then how you translate the briefs, translate the insights into briefs so that you can start working on clear briefs towards your concepts. And it's also about scenario buildings in this development phase. It's always about validating. You engage your users in all the stages of this. And at the end, you build resources. All your knowledge that you might not use this time can be useful later. And you're gaining experience with conducting research with people. So we wanted to present this in an easy way. Actually, the book was inspired by a cookbook. So we've just, Gordon Ramsay, thank you. We just divided into 3 simple categories, which we call low contact, which is low contact with the person, with the user, the lead user, but it's also maybe low level of information, low level of cost and resources allocated, and so on. Medium, high contact is more deep. You get more rich information with controlled observation workshops and evaluation in direct contact with your lead users. I will go on to some cases ranging from different areas, and not only about technology. I'm no expert in technology, but more in presenting a wide range of examples, lighthouse projects from around the world who have applied universal design as part of their strategy when developing, and always involving people in their projects. And they range from any sector and any discipline you can think of. But when we started, we wanted to do something that everybody could relate to. That was when I started the Innovation for All program at the council, where we wanted to test test new tools and methods for engaging with people and in the design process. So we got Jordan to work with us because they had a problem with their packaging. This was a dangerous thing. You needed plaster and scissors when you try to open it, and the brush were excellent, but the packaging was terrible. So we picked a handful of users, ranging from people with arthritis to visually impaired and children and so on. And we had we made a nice combination of the different tools. Each project is different. You have to design your research and tailor make it, also how you select your lead users. For instance, for packaging, people with hearing impairments wouldn't make any difference, but the person with visual impairment, with arthritis, could tell you something about the product that would be interesting. So in the end, we got a very nice product, and but the best thing is that it increased market share in very few months, and sales plummeted, and in 3 months' time, sales rose from market share from 50 to 70% only in Norway, but it's going on, and Jordan now have universal design as a part of their marketing strategy. And it was a very simple thing. It's very logical. And even the branding got more emphasized. But the most important thing, everyone can open it, and it's very clearly indicated. So it's a very simple way to communicate how easy universal design can be integrated into any process. But this is another project. That was a very different one, all about technology, an electric car. And there were many research partners, the Norwegian Research Council, Royal College of Art, the Think car. And we did this a project back in 2009, a long time ago, where we looked at the future design of and future design scenarios for the urban electric car. And the concepts presented resulted from insights from only 10 different lead users, and they were amazing. Actually, some predicted solutions we only had seen lately, now that the electric cars are becoming mainstream. But here, the typical lead users were professional drivers, older female drivers with various impairments, tree huggers without a car, and all of them opposites that all contributed with valuable insights. But also in this project, what was very interesting was how the designers presented the insights to their client, and how they how they interpreted insights into concepts, and then how they presented it with video clips and very, very strong visuals. This is another interesting, also technology, a project in Japan. It's called the Nanakuma line in Fukuoka, a 10-year project, and I think one of the most universally designed metro systems in the world. It makes traveling better for everyone, and it's also beautiful. Lighting was a focus, and the platform lighting mirrors the weather conditions outside. This slide is an important one because this is the Japanese designer CEO, Toshimitsu Sadamura-san, who is doing the research himself in existing stations with users to understand the difficulties they face. And so he was not afraid of stepping outside his comfort zone. And here are his colleagues shadowing and videotaping blind, visually impaired people. Here's the result, which is amazing. This the magnetic tip of the stick for the blind actually is used to automatically call the elevators here, and it's very universally designed for everyone, even tourists like me. I knew that I belonged at the station of the Yellow Elephant, so even children who are not fluent in reading and tourists could travel easily. So this is an example of how all disciplines of design and architecture join forces, but with the basis of including everyone. So there are many examples. B&Q is one. The Royal College of Art looked at their research where they discovered that power tools such as drills and screwdrivers and DIA is not only for handyman, but actually women of all ages and also older people. But these tools were really excluding these customer groups. So then this led to a very amazing popular product, very ergonomic, lightweight power tools. But what is more interesting is also that this B&Q started to realize that universal design is more than just about products and marketing and sales. It's also about your employees. And they started to have a universally designed HR policy. And that involved housewives who have never had any experience, young people with no training, ex-convicts, because they realized that these were loyal and very, very good workers. So universal can be many things. Another example from UK is the Marks and Spencer. And they are the few who saw the opportunity of the 50+ market long time ago, though, after falling turnover year after year. And this campaign with Twiggy and Brian Ferry and Anthony Banderas were all icons from the 60s, was a big success because it made their campaign more inclusive of more customers, actually their target customers. Because we know that these also represent a lot of immense purchasing power. So it's just about getting your communication and marketing campaigns right as well, and use the right language so you actually address your customers. This is an example of a project we did with a Norwegian window supplier who actually had no direct contact with their end user. And they wanted, due to legislation, to make their product and offerings more universally designed in many senses. But at the end, they realized the value of design for their business in terms of innovation. And a lot of the results from this project ended up in solutions and concepts that were patented, so we could never show. Until now, I see that they have taken this to the market. But they were really happy with just a simple design research project for a universal design. And this is Alex Lee. He is the, or maybe, I'm not sure if he still is, but he was the CEO of a very good example of universal design, Oxo Goodrips. And he said that it's not that they have universal design as their strategy, because it's not evident, but it is their core strategy. And it has resulted in so many profitable and innovative solutions. And they have been increasing their turnover ever since they started. And it's a really interesting story for how Oxo Goodrip was established. I think you should look it up one day and because it's so inspirational. But when we talk about technology, and you are experts in technology and entrepreneurship, and so I wanted to focus a little bit on that, because I mean, technology can improve our lives immensely, and it's so important. But technology can also create new barriers for the people on the outer edges, as you know, and we have to avoid that. You have to avoid that. We have to work on how to introduce universal design thinking into all the new startups and initiatives, because it can enable independent living and include all those excluded. I think it starts with awareness and empathy, along with all your excellent know-how in technology and so on, and the combination of universal design and technology understanding. I think it's a really, really good combination. But you have to make it accessible. You need this to combine it. Long time ago, we did a research within housing with a handful of lead users, and we wanted to have the lead users to pinpoint where are the barriers and the innovation potential. And they presented a wide range of barriers and issues that we saw as innovation potential. At the bottom right, you can see how a person with arthritis is plugging in her lamp. They were very inventive in how to overcome barriers and difficulties in the house. People want to master their own life, and they don't want to be left helpless. So there's a lot of innovation just in how to cope, but you don't need bad solutions like that. You need solutions like this magnetic suction. You don't have to be accurate, and it will suck up your plug easily. Made by a young entrepreneur, a design student back in the day, Nima, who he is now a successful entrepreneur, and this is in production. But there are more success stories about how you combine universal design with entrepreneurship and technology. This is Johan Brandt, dyslexic and successful entrepreneur, and also a champion of universal design. You have probably heard of Kahoot. It's actually one of the, I think it's the first Norwegian unicorn. And only in 7 years, it's amazing what they built up. But they have inclusiveness as a part of their values. And they want to make learning awesome. And I think they have more than 100 million single users, and they're worldwide, and they're expanding. Just fun to mention, I used to work with the two of the founders who actually were working with web design, among other things, and they did a website for the book back in the days. This is at RCA with Johan and Jamie Brooker developing a website. Also, the two other founders of Kahoot were students at a similar school as this one, or university, the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. And amazing, it's just 7 years ago, and they're doing millions and billions. I mean, this is the site they did, inclusivedesign.no it was called. No Isolation is another startup where we have another example of telepresence, a robot enabling children to take part in school and play by this avatar, AV1. Now they also introduced new other solutions to enable analog grandparents take part and communicate with digital children and grandchildren. The Innovation Award is one example of how universal design can drive innovation across all sectors in private and public. And the ministry wanted to promote that, to present inspirational cases. And here I am with the ministry and the jury leader at the time. And the winners are just wonderful, ranging from websites to kindergarten to passenger boats and a very successful hotel chain, Scandic. which actually has universal design as a business strategy, and giving them a huge range of competitive advantages, but also saving costs and reducing sick leaves with their employees because of their universal design solutions. Now I want to show a film. Can you run that film? With the winners of 2014, so also excellent examples ranging from hospitals and, well, you see. So I think that was, yeah, there's one more amazing winner, which is this hybrid electric passenger sighting boat, Vision of the Fjords. It's totally innovative in its design, but it's also sustainable. And it's also beautiful and very well designed. So you can have a look. They have actually made 100% electric boat now. And it's very inspirational to see. Well, just to summarize a little bit. For me, universal design is about people and how to engage them in the design process and the development process from the start, not from the start. University is the designing for defining new problems to solve. Therefore, it can drive innovation. But it's also a strategy, it's a mindset, a philosophy that can be applied in all sectors, no matter what your field of activity is. And so, but it can make you more relevant in the market. It can give a competitive edge. It can be, it can make sure your solutions are more inclusive and preferred in the in your market. But at the same time, it's benefiting both the society and the business and the individual at the same time. And I could have talked a lot about cost benefit in the bigger picture of universal design, but there's no time for that. But just to end, one of the slogans of EIDD is that bad design disables, good design enables. And good luck with your projects. Thank you for listening.